Well, good morning. Welcome back to the broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Tuesday, September 21st, 2021. And our top story today, turning immune cells into cancer killers. Well, joining me now to discuss this and a lot more is Kelly N. Smith. She's a PhD and assistant professor of oncology at Johns Hopkins Medicine's Sidney Kimmel Comprehensive Cancer Center. Kelly, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff.
Yeah, I got to say, the Sidney Kimmel Comprehensive Cancer Center is a mouthful, but I think I nailed it on the first try. Thanks so much for joining us. And I want to talk a little bit about the research that you and a whole team of researchers did. I know you're the lead researcher, but let's talk about turning immune cells into cancer fighters. How do we go? First, how did you start the research? And how do we go about doing this?
That's a great question. And I want to start off by saying that this was indeed a team effort. I am just the mouthpiece kind of relaying it to the world right now. But it was a huge team of folks and a lot of junior investigators who really did the lion's share of the work here. So I do just want to give the entire study team a shout out. The way that this was kind of born is there was a technology at Johns Hopkins called Manifest that we developed to identify immune cells that recognize patients' tumors. And the assay is very successful at detecting and monitoring this immune response. And we've found that in some cases it can be associated with response to therapy. But really, it doesn't tell us anything about the function of the immune cells or how well they're doing what they're supposed to do. And really, the technology wasn't there for a long time to do that. And then a few years ago, another technology was developed called single cell sequencing that allowed us to really look at the specific cells that are recognizing the tumor and understand how they're behaving. Are they behaving the way that they're supposed to, or are they dysregulated in some way? And that's what's allowing these patients to progress in their cancer. And to conduct this research, we piggybacked on a clinical trial that was performed at Johns Hopkins, and the results of the trial were published in the New England Journal in 2018. I would encourage everyone to look it up. But this was the first in human study of giving immunotherapy before patients have surgery for their tumor. So generally, if you have a tumor that can undergo surgical resection, you just go straight to surgery. So we wanted to understand, if we can give patients immunotherapy first, does that help in any way? And the benefit here scientifically is that you now are able to get tumors from patients who have already been treated with immunotherapy. So we kind of hung on to this very unique opportunity to study the immune cells recognizing the tumor and seeing what is their function.
Kelly, when it looking at some data from the Center for Disease Control, cancer is, I think that before COVID, was the number 2 killer behind heart disease and cardiovascular disease. This therapy, and it has been successful, but if it can be applied, this really has an opportunity to really cut into just the proliferation, for lack of a better term, of cancer throughout our society, and not just society here in the US, but also society around the globe.
You got it. And you touched on something very important there. I know you mentioned COVID. And one thing I hope to relay to folks is that, unfortunately, during the pandemic, people have not stopped dying from cancer. And developments of cancer therapies have been significantly hindered by the pandemic, not only just due to personnel shortages, but laboratory shutdowns, et cetera. So I know that's not really the scientific topic of discussion, but that is something that I do want to touch on. Now, in terms of the cancer pandemic that we have going on right now, lung cancer, a lot of folks don't know this, but lung cancer accounts for more deaths than breast, prostate, and colon cancer combined. Lung cancer is a huge source of mortality, not only in this country, but around the world. And most patients who have a early stage lung cancer will eventually go on to recur and die of their disease. So really, and this is what we're trying to get at, really what we need to do is identify better treatments to give patients when they are initially diagnosed with resectable disease. So when they have a cancer that can undergo surgery and can be removed, how can we give them treatments in the perioperative area? So either before surgery or after surgery to delay or prevent relapse. And that is really the overlying goal of our study. Even though our study is very scientifically nuanced, the first step in that is understanding how the cells that are recognizing the tumor, are they doing what they're supposed to do? And if they're not, which we found in some cases they aren't, do they express molecules that can be targeted by drugs that we can study in the future? And the answer is yes.
Kelly, this therapy, is it used in, you mentioned the lung cancer and other forms of cancer, but is it used in the treatment of other diseases? I know you mentioned a study as well where you kind of piggybacked on the study, but is this type of therapy used for treating cardiovascular disease or some I'm not a doctor obviously, but some other area, some other malady?
Immunotherapy in general is used for several different ailments. It was originally actually developed for allergy. So there were immunotherapies developed to kind of shut down the immune response. PD-1 blockade, which is the type of immunotherapy that we're using, is being studied in viral infections, but right now, to my knowledge, it doesn't have kind of strong application to other non-inflammatory conditions. PD-1 blockade as a treatment for cancer is being used across many different cancer types, but using it in the early stage setting is very novel. And after our initial clinical trial, dozens of clinical trials launched to study this in other cancer types.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Kelly, I need to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about turning immune cells into cancer killers. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
I'm seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. We're talking to Kelly N. Smith, PhD of the Johns Hopkins Medicine Sidney Kimmel Comprehensive Cancer Center. Kelly, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
Thanks so much.
Let's talk about the study. And I guess, where I want to come at this is, we have a lot of people of all different ages, all different ethnicities that watch this program from all around the world. Is the research, what does the research bear in terms of age ranges, people that are susceptible to cancer like lung cancer? Do you have to be a smoker to get it?
That's also a really good question. And this is something that comes up a lot, especially in terms of lung cancer awareness and patient advocacy. Anyone with lungs can get lung cancer. Classically, it has been associated with smoking, but we are seeing an increase, especially in young women, in lung cancer of people who have never smoked in their lives. So this is something that the field is trying to understand, and there are very elegant studies of cancer genetics and cancer genomics ongoing right now to understand why this is happening. But you don't just have to be a smoker in order to get lung cancer. It is something that people of all ages, beginning in your 20s, need to be aware of. And we are seeing patients in their 20s coming in with metastatic lung cancer, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is incredibly unfortunate. Are there things that we can, I know that the field is experimenting or trying to figure out where these things come from, but are there steps that we can take? And we've had other practitioners from Johns Hopkins about a healthy lifestyle, but what should we be thinking about in terms of trying to prevent cancer, even though sometimes it's our genes, our genetics that really predispose us to certain diseases?
Yeah, I think in the absence of smoking, which everyone knows is associated with lung cancer, and I can't emphasize that enough, aside from stopping smoking, things like environmental hazards, so poor air quality, I think is a huge problem. That is something that unfortunately at an individual level, we can't really do anything about. You have to breathe air. But at more of a governmental or societal level, this is something that maybe we should be looking at. Obviously, certain workplace hazards, inhaling things that basically anything that is inhaled into your lungs that should not be in your lungs has the potential to be carcinogenic. So things like the vape pens, while the common myth is that they're not associated with lung cancer, really anything that's not supposed to be in your lungs is really not good. Aside from those kind of obvious things, it really is an unknown at this point if there are any lifestyle or, daily environmental things that are contributing to this epidemic. Yeah,
very sad when I see young people especially smoking, but also vaping. There are so many myths associated with that. And you just want people to live a long and healthy life where they don't have a lot of maladies. And Kelly, healthcare costs, they only go up. Right now, they're not going to go down. So taking care of yourself, really important. Looking out for the next couple of years in terms of the research that you and the team are doing, what can we expect in terms of your next steps with continuing to test this immune therapy to see if you can convert these cells to hunter killers? I don't know if that's even the right word to use.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, actually. So what I think you'll see, not specifically from my lab, although we'll be part of this, I hope, but I think what you'll see is this explosion of personalized treatments for lung cancer. So really, every patient has their own cancer, and every cancer is different. And really where the field is headed right now is developing immunotherapies that can target the patient's own tumor in a way that will be most effective for them. So what I think you'll see is an increase in genetic testing of tumors when patients are diagnosed. I think you'll see an increase in blood-based biomarker testing, as well as tumor-based biomarker testing, as well as additional analyses of the immune system to understand if the patient has generated an immune response to the tumor, and if so, how can we exploit that response to promote, targeting of the tumor. So I think over the next 10 years, there will be really a huge influx of treatments for lung cancer that can be used for different situations and different tumors.
And last question here, Kelly. You had referenced some labor shortages, some closed labs that inhibit testing. I mean, this was all happening during COVID, and there is work that has to be continued. Are you seeing, since we have vaccinations, are you seeing an improvement in reopenings, labs reopening, but also being able to staff with more practitioners?
Staffing is a huge problem right now. And I think hospitals are seeing that across the board. As our research institutions, we are having a really hard time filling open positions and finding qualified individuals to conduct the work that we're doing. And that's really at all levels, from clinical care, to laboratory research, and everything in between. The labs are 100% open now. They were shut down for a few months, but they're open now. But we're still experiencing supply shortages, even things, that we use in the lab, things that you wouldn't think there would be shortages on, that are very specific and niched to the type of research we do. There are shortages. So we're having to kind of ration and plan experiments very carefully because of this.
Yeah, well, let's hope the supply chain speeds up as we kind of hopefully come out of this COVID pandemic, whatever the new normal looks like. And let's hope we can get more practitioners into the tech schools and the nursing schools, et cetera, to kind of help things out. Kelly and Smith, it's always a pleasure chatting with folks from Johns Hopkins. Great to meet you. Thanks so much for joining us. And we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Kelly. Great to see you. Thanks for sharing your perspective. That wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the information in retirement markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. We're back again tomorrow. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.